Hi all, Tim here, and as you can tell from my background and my attire, I'm not in my comfortable home office. I'm out on the road in Boston this week and soon to be down in Grapevine near Dallas, Texas at Gartner Digital Workplace Summit next week. Got a couple of great customers that are going to join me on stage. You saw me last week talk with Michael from Starbucks, and Jen today is going to be joining me on stage at Gartner, Senior Vice President of Employee Support and Experience at a large financial services organization, much like I came from a large financial services organization at the Hartford. Jen is a senior leader with tons of experience and can't wait to be on stage. Jen, welcome. I love the concept of doing a little bit of a sneak peek here, but also a little bit expanded time to talk about some other things. So first, thank you for coming on, and how are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me. It's my absolute pleasure to join you on this platform, this new
Excellent.
platform of
So
yours.
let's start with the basics. Like any good comic strip villain, I like to call it the origin story. How'd you get started in IT? Give us kind of the fundamentals and how you got involved in technology and leadership.
It's kind of a funny story. I fumbled into IT. I have a bit of a non-traditional background. So if you haven't figured out from my accent, I'm Australian. I left Australia when I was 18 and moved to London, where I spent 13 years. And during that time, about 6 or 7 years into my journey in London, I went and worked at an investment bank. And I started off, to be honest, doing more administrative roles. I was working with a number of professionals in business management and strategy, and started off doing more administrative roles within IT. But I very quickly grew my skill set to focus on getting more embedded in IT. So I'm not traditionally trained in technology. I actually grew more of my career around focusing on strategy, project management, business management. Quality was my first, QA was my first kind of proper techie role, which I know many developers and engineers would not agree that that's a techie role, but from my perspective, it was. And that really perked my interest in the power of IT and solving business problems. Um, how I ended up, I would say, more delivering technology is after many years of living in London, I then moved to Singapore, continued to work in
Mm.
from application development, and I moved into infrastructure. So I'm one of these people that have toggled both parts of technology, and then continued to do varying roles, mainly chief of staff, COO, strategy, implementation, project roles. But then after 7 years in Singapore, skipped to work in the States. About 2 years in, I had an opportunity to take over the IT service desk. And I turned around and I said to my boss at the time, I said, but I'm not a technologist. Like, I can't get on the help desk and
Right.
help you solve your Outlook issue. And she turned around and said to me, Jen, the IT service desk is not a technology problem to solve. It's a people problem to solve, which is what you excel in. And I was like, okay, bring it on. So
Yeah.
off I went and I started managing the IT service desk, and I was tasked with digitally transforming it at the time. So I think my perspective on IT support, based on all of the experience while I'd had in IT, but not as truly solving a technology problem from a coding perspective, enabled me to look at the IT service desk in a very different way. And that's kind of how I fell into IT.
You know, I've had that conversation with several people over the years, and several even just recently, kind of the debate of whether or not it's better to come up as classically trained in management and leadership and apply that to technology, or be
Mm-hmm.
classically trained in technology, be a technologist, and move into management and apply
Mm.
your skills there into management. Pros and cons to both. But I'm
Yep.
curious whether it's the leadership management side or what you do know about the technology side. What's the kind of the thing that excites you about leading in IT? Where do you get your energy and what do you love doing?
Oh, I definitely have a lot of energy around IT. I see the opportunity, but with what technology can solve for people in terms of improving productivity in an organization. But I do really believe in solving the problem of the people first. So I feel like my first statement to anyone when they come and say, how did you automate X percentage of your desk and things like that. I'm like, do you know the problem you're trying to solve?
Mm.
Do you really understand the problem you're trying to solve? And his generalization, you can think about it. A lot of technologists are just like, well, I just need to throw this cool tech because it's going to automate stuff. And I'm like, yes, but are you really, really clear about the problem you're trying to solve? And for me, I am very clear about the problem I'm trying to solve. If I look at the IT service desk and I look at the range and the spectrum of issues that are coming in, the percentage of those that are commoditized problems, I then look for awesome technology that it excites me to solve those problems. My goal is to improve the productivity of our employees so that they can focus on serving our customers. Why am I going to ask them to learn my crappy processes in
Right.
IT for them to do their job done? I need to take that cognitive load off them, and I need to enable them to be able to go and serve our customers. And technology today is so advanced, and there is no excuse as to why we can't apply it. And that's what excites me. Every corner, there's an opportunity where I see technology could actually solve a problem that our people are having as they navigate process and friction in the environment around the tooling that they use on a day-to-day basis.
You know what's really cool for me in technology, even having, as much as I hate to admit, a 35-year career in this, the evolution of tech is still so intimately connected with end user compute and the
Mm-hmm.
devices that they use. 35 years in, I started in 1988 before Windows 95, all of the early technologies, all the way through manageability and security. And it almost feels like this is the dawn of end user compute, never mind in its fourth century, and it's still exciting leaders to get out there and make a difference and make a change. You talk
Yep.
about technology advancing. How do you keep up to speed with what's viable, what really could be a game changer, and how do you kind of lead your technology teams through that change and stay up to date yourself?
Oh, multiple ways. I think one, meeting with people outside of my industry or within my industry doing similar roles, that always sparks some level of enthusiasm for me. While I feel like in some places I've been a pioneer with the work that I've done, um, I have always built a user community to go, how can we work together to find ways to solve business problems? Because more of us, more brains are better than just my brain. And I'm not ashamed of the fact that I'm not a deep technologist. I have deep technologists on my team, and we need both.
Yes.
I think about the human side of things, and they help me understand the technology side of things. And together, we're able to solve really awesome problems by one, leveraging conferences, leveraging vendor partners, leveraging peers across the community. There's no real competitive advantage in the work that I do in particular. Like, yes, I can make my employees 100 times better, but us not coming together, I think, is a disservice to each other. And then the other thing that inspires me is the consumer world. We walk
Right.
around and we see, I, you know, I use Waze today to navigate in my car. Why can't I apply that to how a field tech is coming out to me and fixing my problem? Or thinking about chatbots and AI and pizza tracking. I love the Papa John's pizza tracking where I can see my pizza's being made. Why wouldn't I apply the same kind of methodology that our consumers are now used to our employees in the workplace? So that also inspires me. So then I come up with these great ideas and come back to my team and I'm like, right, we're going to do this experience. And then the technologists come and either pivot me where I need to, but I
Right.
don't believe that there's nothing possible with technology. I get very excited. I'm like, we can do this. We just have to be gritty and find the way. So that's always been my philosophy and where I get my inspiration.
I work with a senior executive now who has this concept of the Uberization of IT. Right, IT
Yes.
is no longer or not so much in in the world of delivering you technology that they own. We're in the world of delivering you a service to
Mm-hmm.
connect you with the right technology, right? SaaS,
Absolutely.
I don't own the servers, I don't own the storage, I don't own the software, but I have to provision your ability to go use it.
Yes.
And it's an interesting concept that IT is evolving as well. There have been so many, as I look back over my career, that I've got a few more years than you do. Got a lot more in the rearview mirror. But I've had over the course of my career a couple of those holy cow moments
Mm.
that this changes everything. And sometimes it's a technology. Sometimes it's you know what, I didn't think about it in that way. And that new perspective makes me think about all these other things that are completely different now. As you look at your career, what is the kind of the milestones for you that have been that holy cow, I didn't realize this was even possible. This makes me think about something completely different.
Yeah, I think I've had a few milestones actually. I think the first one that really got me going, whoa, like, does anyone really get what this is? It was the early days of virtual assistants and chatbots. So my
Yeah.
philosophy with a chatbot is not about sending out knowledge articles. It's about enabling automation. Again, I don't want you to have to do any of my bad process. I want to do it for you. And the first time I saw our virtual assistant close down Outlook and Skype, so that's how long ago it was, and then bring it back up again because that's a top call driver into the service desk, I was literally flipped the table. Oh my God, the world is changing. I can see this applied in so many different ways. So that really sparked my journey for employee experience. And I continued on this transformation journey of how can we remove that friction and cognitive load from our employees by using automation. I would say the next moment has been with NextSync, to be fair. I find the product exceptional. I think it's game changing. I love the fact that you are putting the power of proactive automation or remote automation into the supporters' hands, but also the employees' hands where it's appropriate. And it's really making me ponder and changing my strategy, because most of the time we always talk about part of my end user support strategy should be having an IT service desk. And I'm like, I really
Why?
feel like that is not necessarily the answer anymore. And I think that with tools like NextSync, with a really solid virtual assistant that's also providing automation and then enabling that automation across your IVR, and you're covering those channels with IVR, I'm going after a 70% reduction to our IT service desk. So that remaining 30% should be really hard things that if I think about what our customers want as our employees, they want a delightful experience. So why wouldn't they then go to a walk-up cafe or something like that? So where does that lead the future of IT support? And with
Yeah.
generative AI coming along, I really believe that this is all possible with the meld of these technologies.
So, in my role as a customer, when I was in enterprise IT, we
Mm-hmm.
actually achieved more than 80% reduction in L1 tickets. So you're
Awesome.
underachieving at 70.
I'm going back to my team straight away and saying there's a new goalpost. That's
Yeah.
the thing is with being a visionary, I really believe that this is possible. There is no doubt this is possible. And sometimes the team are like, Jen,
Yeah.
don't do this. And
Reel
I'm
it
like,
back.
I know it. I know we can do this. I believe in the technologies.
Yeah, and even the Genius walk-up bar, it was great. It was a great idea, but it really is only throwing people at a problem
Mm-hmm.
that we couldn't otherwise solve, right? People don't like calling the help desk, but why don't they just carry their laptop when they go to lunch and they can stop at the Genius bar? You're
Mm-hmm.
still depending on those employees to come to you.
Yep.
Why doesn't IT know about the problem to begin with? Or better yet,
Exactly.
understand that it's going to be a problem and prevent it to begin with. So, but it's an
Absolutely.
evolution.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
agreed. And I actually think that the technology is there and it's perfectly possible. The challenge we have is the people
I
driving
say that.
digital dexterity.
Yeah, I say it too many times, and people get tired of me saying it. But the technology is easy; it's the people that are
Mm-hmm.
hard, right?
Absolutely.
Getting people
Adopting
to change how they think.
change.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I 100% agree.
Give me some. Let's talk a little bit about. We got Gartner coming up next week.
Mm-hmm.
We got 30 minutes together on stage to talk about some details of what you've got going. But kind of even outside of the NextThink realm, what are your thoughts on AI and automation? Not only kind of what's your vision of the art of the possible, but
Mm.
what's the reality for you right now? What have you accomplished that you can kind of claim as, yes, we did this with AI and automation, and then where do you see it going?
Yeah, this we could have this conversation for a long time. So obviously,
Yeah.
AI is a part of my strategy. I've been embarked on this strategy for the last 2.5 years. We're using a virtual assistant to automate at a minimum our top 10 core drivers, which it already does. It can right now automate. The opportunity within the automation is 30% of the volume that comes in every month. My challenge is the adoption because people still like
Right.
to call. And my strategy has shifted over time as well. I was always like, I am going to teach everybody to use chat. And then I very quickly realized that changing people is the harder thing to do. So how do I now also leverage the IVR? For this has been a long time ambition for me in my career, is to what I call hashtag crush passwords. Anyone who works at
Mm.
the IT service desk will know that the biggest call driver is passwords, and it's not
Yep.
actually a technology problem to solve. It's a people problem to solve.
Hmm.
And we just automated authentication into our IVR and password resets last week. So this is a big win for us, and we're working on tuning the Lexbot to do the authentication and understand you. So I love how this capability is coming to life, knowing who you are, locking my front doors as you come into the desk. And then
Mm.
obviously we're very early in our journey with NextThink, but I'm already super impressed with the insights that we're seeing. So traditionally, when I look at the problem I'm trying to solve, I'm looking at incident data or interaction data, and I'm like going, okay, I can see the spectrum of issues that are coming in, and then I break down and I do the data analysis and things like that. But what NextSync gives us is the things that people don't call about, and
Right.
giving us this indication that's going on in the environment. That means I've got more stuff to go after to enhance their experience, which I think is so powerful. I think I'm excited about generative AI. I see the power of it, but I also have concerns. Um, my concerns are that everyone says it's really easy to implement these things, and it's not always really easy. Like,
Yeah.
I there is work to be done, and you can't just turn these things on. You need to get things embedded into your environment. And are we really ready to do the baseline work that's required in our workplaces of looking at our knowledge and thinking about all of those kind of things that, especially in an investment bank, we would be controlled around what generative AI would be able to access. But my biggest thought on this, which I think is exciting, but also something that hasn't necessarily been thought about, because everyone's talking about the cool thing of generative AI, like they were talking about the cloud a couple of years ago. Like we go through the hype, and I 100% agree that this is a great hype to be behind. But if we think about how technology has changed over the last how many years, we're moving now from a place of labor arbitrage. So our traditional way of doing IT was to send all those commoditized roles out to cheaper locations.
Yep.
With that movement, I feel like we lost a lot of skill set from our leadership capability and didn't really invest in people in the same way, because we're like, oh, well, that work's gone. I don't need to continue to invest in that middle level of manager on how to deliver, execute, and lead people. We're now going to add generative AI into the environments, and that's going to take away more roles. It's never going to take away all roles, but there's a huge amount of opportunity, and why wouldn't you take advantage of it? But I just fear that we're not providing people who remain, who need the heart, who need the discernment. We're not providing them with the skill set to be able to lead in a world of this digitalization with generative AI. So I think about my children, my daughter who's 11, and the workplace
Mm.
she's going to work in the future. And if we don't think about how the world is pivoting with AI and leadership, skills that are required to work in this world, and the ability to add heart versus just thinking, I'm going to trust the machine, I worry about that. And I think that there's a huge heap of opportunity there. So I don't want you to misunderstand. I'm all about the tech. I think it's cool, but I feel like there's a human element that we need to start be thinking about now as well, so that we can build sustainable organizations in the future leveraging this tech.
And especially in this space and the way tech is evolving right now, putting the employee at the center, being compassionate in IT, understanding their experience and striving to make it better. If we're not training and leading our people to
Mm-hmm.
maintain and even get better at that compassionate side, AI is essentially going to be so easy that it's going to steal it, right? I don't
Yeah.
need to be compassionate. If AI is a collaborative partner, which it should be
Mm-hmm.
making my job easier. But if I don't need to be compassionate to an AI prompt, right? I need to
Mm-hmm.
be able to create it and ask it the right questions and interact with that computer to make generative AI as valuable as possible. But if I lose my ability to interact with real colleagues and real human beings, then we've done
Yes.
ourselves a disservice, right? And even the ease at implementing technology, like we just said, technology is the easy part. Look what happens when I click the checkbox. Well, yeah, but clicking that checkbox just imported 3 gigs of data and it changed how the application works. And
Mm-hmm.
you've got to, we focus on this all the time when I was in IT. You've got to figure out the operationalization part first
Yes.
before you start making technology changes. You got to understand how it's actually going to run.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So that's something I feel very, very passionate about. I'm embracing the journey as generative AI becomes more and more available, and I'm going along on the ride around the hype. But I'm the people person. As I said, I fell into IT, and I love working in technology. I love working with technologists, but I've been that connection point across business and technology for my entire 20 plus career. So my
Yeah.
mind goes to how do we build a sustainable workforce for the future along with this technology?
So, how do you lead your teams? What's one or two things that you do? You've obviously got a really good grasp on it, but how do you sit with an individual contributor and get them to have that same kind of mindset?
I invest a significant amount of time in my leadership skills and growth. So I spend a lot of time reflecting upon what I can do better. I do feel that as I became a leader very early on in my career, was my first job was doing a QA team. I recognized that I owed it to the people that their lives were my responsibility to go and read some books and learn and train on leadership. And
Right.
I took on things like I trained as an executive coach and a team coach off my own bat because I feel like they're important skills to be able to have constructive conversations with employees. Now, I obviously use those skills. I manage a large organization, but I've also done a lot of work around organizational culture. So I look at the levers that it takes to provide humans with certainty. People want to know what's going on, people want transparency. I have nothing to hide. I have a number of levers I do every week with my team. I write to my team every week with what I'm working on. They're welcome to join any of my meetings if they find them interesting. They can come along. Obviously, the work I do is very different to the cool and funky stuff they get to do most of the time. I ask me anything's, all hands, one on ones, all the kind of I think lost leadership skills, to be fair.
Right.
You know, when you look more broadly in the organization, can all of us hand on heart say, I can see a series of leaders that I look up to and go, I want to be like that. And I work every day to be that leader that the generations beneath me want to be like. So I have to walk my talk. And I invest a lot of time in that is my work. That is my job as a leader. So, yes, I define a strategy and I get super excited about it and I work on the communication of that. But then it's working with the individual teams to not micromanage them, but provide the guardrails of and the support for them as they're executing and having that open door on questions. They should never be afraid to tell me, Jen, this isn't going to work.
Right.
Um, I've really put a lot of value in being a very constructive leader and building a great team. That we truly are a team. I don't see myself as the boss. We're all just part of a team, and I play a different role. My role's a little bit different, probably not as fun as theirs, because I'm having to do the finances and all of those kind of things. They're getting to do cool innovation, but we're all just one team. We've just got different roles we play in it.
Yeah, when I have conversations with leaders like yourself, it brings me back to points in time in my leadership development and my career journey, and where did I learn certain things and what programs was I involved in. I did a Rensselaer leadership development program years ago, and one of the activities for the group was to take a look at a table full of 8x10 photos, all different kinds of scenes depicted, and pick out the one that describes in visual your leadership style. And the one that I picked out was from the early 1900s, a team of probably 50 guys, and it must have been all guys in the early 1900s building a bridge. And what you couldn't tell from that group of people building that bridge, who the leader was. Right?
Yeah.
It was a group of people all in the same goal, the same effort, but someone had to have done the design. Someone had to be directing daily activities. Someone had to be managing schedules. But from the picture, you couldn't tell who that was. And there was a lot of debate in the room at the time, which said, well, you're the leader. People should know who you are, and they should know that you stand out and you're responsible, and that should be visible. And I didn't agree. I felt like I was part of the team, and I still kind of throw that around in my head and what the right model is. But I love that concept of you're in the trenches. You're not micromanaging and dictating what they do, but you're close enough to the daily activity that they can actually collaborate with you and not feel like they're going to be reprimanded or that they can't speak up.
Yeah, absolutely. And just to kind of layer on your thought process there, I'm very comfortable with my skills and my capability, and I'm also very honest. And I'm a lifelong learner. I'm listening to podcasts, I'm reading. All of it is on continued growth for myself. So if I'm very comfortable with me, as a leader, my job is to shine the light on the awesome talent I have in my team.
Right.
Because I think that exhibits me as a better leader, and I have some amazing talent, and many of them have followed me across organizations over the last 10 years and moved locations to work with me, because it's not about me. It's about the work we get to do and the innovation I want to continue to help fuel within them, and the art of they're going to be the leaders of my children. I want them to be great. So I've got to shine the light and enable them and challenge them and work with them and coach them. So I'm with you. The bridge is a good analogy.
Very cool. So we said earlier we could talk forever on this stuff. Probably a good place to wrap it up. But any kind of closing, parting thoughts you want to share? Anything that we didn't touch on that you want to expand on?
I think we covered a lot. It was really great to have the opportunity to talk to you and get the opportunity to talk beyond the tech and talk about the people part of it, which I think is imperative in our ability to drive innovation for the future. So I appreciate you allowing me the opportunity to talk about that.
Yeah, thanks for jumping on. I really appreciate it as well. And for everyone else that's joining in and watching and listening, thanks for joining us. There'll be more of these coming. If you have yourself a unique career, a technology story, or a hurdle that you solved creatively, drop me a line, tim.flower@theproactiveitguy.com. Leave a comment here on YouTube. And if this is something that you enjoyed, click like and subscribe, and we'll keep the community growing. Thanks again to Jen, and we'll see everybody around the next time. Thanks, Jen.
Thank you.